laser array emitting a peak power of roughly 30 megawatts for roughly 10 hours per year. That's all. A chromatic cloak effective at all wavelengths is more challenging, requiring a large array of tunable lasers with a total power of roughly 250 megawatts. Alternatively, a civilization could cloak only the atmospheric signatures associated with biological activity on their world, such as oxygen, which is achievable with a peak laser power of just roughly 160 kilowatts per transit.
Yeah, per transit. So those figures only apply to one star.
Right.
Right. If you're trying to hide us from aliens everywhere, you'd have to do it all the time. Not 10 hours a year, but all hours a year. Right?
Yes. I would think so.
Yeah, we're always in front of the sun from somebody's perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Along that plane. Professor Kipling told the BBC in an interview that it doesn't have to be one huge laser. It could be an array positioned around the Earth, or you could put it in space as a satellite. And we've calculated the International Space Station already collects exactly the amount of energy we would need. So he thinks it's, these are achievable numbers, effectively. And it's all well and good as a thought experiment, but it does open the door to a much bigger question, I think, is should we be doing this? What's the value of doing this?
Of course
should we hide
not.
ourselves?
Also, do we have this much excess energy to blow on, space lasers? I'm looking at this from a practical standpoint. We're having a hard time utilizing, trying to create enough energy cleanly in order to do all of the things that we need to do to survive. And is there a legitimate fear that if aliens found us, they would come murder us all?
That's just it. There really isn't a fear. It's not going to happen.
But I think there are two questions here. One is, would it work?
Yeah.
Which I think the answer is no. I think the bottom line is that any aliens that we would need to worry about are not going to be fooled by our silly little laser.
And isn't it too late, guys? What would we be blocking from that we haven't already?
Well, it might be too late. Yeah, we've been broadcasting our existence for a long time, but
In lots of ways.
yeah.
I'm just hoping that since Hitler was the first broadcast, that just scares all the aliens away.
No, seriously, you're talking about blocking aliens from using our current technology to identify the existence of the Earth.
Right.
But, if they have our current technology, I'm not worried about them. If, on the other hand,
Which means they can't get to
they
it.
have super advanced technology, we're not going to fool them with our lasers.
Nope.
It's just
Right.
not going to happen.
Yeah, and chances are overwhelmingly high that they're hundreds or thousands of light years away. So it would take that long for that light to get there to try and trick them. Plus, the energy it would take them to get here, why would they even come? Why would they put so much effort into traveling so far? Unless they've got something like warp drive or something crazy like that, which doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
If they want to find us, they're going to find us. If they want to get here, there's nothing we can do about it. But the chance of any of that happening is essentially zero anyway, so don't worry about it.
So, Bob, you're just going to give up just like that?
Well, the probability that we will save ourselves by using these lasers, I think, approaches zero.
Yeah.
But, of course, the interesting question is, would aliens be hostile to us, and would they bother coming here for some nefarious reason? And, of course, that's pure speculation, because we're the only sentience that we know about.
Hawking thinks so, doesn't he?
Yeah, which is interesting.
It is
but I
weird
think
to me.
He's an
it
alarmist.
is weird.
You think so?
Hawking.
You think that's what it is?
They wouldn't need resources, right? Because just volatiles and minerals and stuff, the universe is full of them. They wouldn't need to come to a planet with life on it to get anything. The only thing that would bring them here is that they're interested in the life that's here. And why would they want to destroy it or enslave us or whatever? It doesn't make any sense. Unless the only thing that we really would need to worry about is that there's just a homicidal species that we can't even understand the way they think about things, but they would want to destroy us for some bizarre reason that we can't. But there's no rational reason why they would want to come here, and if they did come here, there's no rational reason why they would want to harm us. What I'm more worried about, which is also probably not that likely, but it may just be that they will contaminate us with their own biology, but chances are the biology won't be compatible. We'd have to really only worry about something like the Thing, which again, I don't know how feasible that is.
Oh, it's feasible.
Hijacking the biology. Or some sort of alien Grey Goose scenario. that they could to terraform the Earth in a month to make it habitable for them. But again, that's really not a concern. It should not be a concern.
If they could do that, they could terraform Venus.
Yeah, cherries are the gods, man.
Why?
The author of the article, Steve, it's the silliest line in the article. It says that there's this fear that if aliens did visit us, they might not be very friendly and could introduce disease.
That's ridiculous.
Come on.
Dog germs can't infect humans.
Yeah, I guess that's true, and there are different species, but there are some zoonotic diseases that are pretty devastating.
But they wouldn't even have our DNA.
I know.
I think we should be advertising our presence to aliens. I think the probability
Yes, I agree.
of that being a benefit is probably orders of magnitude greater than the probability of it being a risk.
Right.
Because first of all, they probably can't physically get here in any kind of time that we would have to worry about.
That'd be nice.
But they could be beaming their information to us.
Galactopedia, baby.
But I will say that, we were talking last week about the using lasers to send little microprobes to other solar systems. They could do that.
Why?
They could send a microprobe
what's the end game?
to the Earth filled with nanites that would turn us into
Proof
great
of concept.
But then again, why? Why would they do that? What would be the benefit
Right.
to them of doing that?
If they did come here, I don't think we'd have to be worried about an overt animosity more than just kind of like a disregard. Like we would be bacteria essentially to them. Like, oh, look at that, interesting, whatever. Crunch.
Or they might have a religion that has some kind of manifest destiny in it that they feel like they need to be the only biology in the universe or something stupid like that.
Yeah, don't we have that? I think some of us have that.
I would think that our like soda and fast food restaurants would eventually win them over.
I think so. That's right.
I think so. All right, Jay, another technology item. Computers as artists.
Yeah, I will preamble my news item with the following message. Don't be afraid of aliens. Be afraid of artificial intelligence, because it's going to happen soon on this planet.
You don't have to worry about aliens coming to destroy us. We're going to rip her.
Much more realistic threat, for sure.
But I am completely blown away with what I'm about to tell you. Microsoft, ING, and Delft University of Technology and 2 Dutch art museums collaborated on an 18-month project, and they named it the Next Rembrandt. And their goal was to create software that can create a new piece of art that would look as close to an authentic Rembrandt as possible, all the time while it's actually an original portrait, right? You follow that? So in essence,
Not really.
They wanted
Couldn't it be both?
I'll tell you. So they wanted the software to quantify Rembrandt's style, and then make a painting that looks as if he painted it, but he didn't, and it is unique, meaning that
so it's not a copy. It's a new piece of art, but it's in the style
Inspired.
Gotcha.
Inspired by
Well, it's better than inspired, Bob. So let's just check this out. So the team started by having the software analyze all the existing works of Rembrandt art. It's like about 300 different pieces of art, and they used it 300. They used this high-resolution 3D scanner that captures the minute details of his work, including brushstrokes and depth and pressure and all that stuff. And then they quantify what makes a face look like it was painted by Rembrandt. Now, if you looked at imagery from the work that they did, you'll see that they were measuring all the facial distances from each other, so the center of the eye to the tip of the nose. Center of the eye to the outer rim of the eye, the shape of the eye, the shape of the curve of the chin, the cheeks, everything, including the colors that he would typically use, including the different kinds of clothing and all aspects of his work, right? So they fully quantified it, when I say fully, as best as they could do within the funding that they had, but they did quantify it really well. So, just to give you a quick example, they had software study how Rembrandt specifically painted the subject's eyes, going into every detail and every curve and every nuance of all the eyes, so they can say the aggregate shape of a Rembrandt eye is X, right? You follow that? Mm-hmm. The software used machine learning algorithms, which were then able to create a new portrait that used Rembrandt's unique style. The software painted in Rembrandt style. The software was given very, really a small amount of direction regarding like the final painting. They just said, hey, we want you to make a Caucasian, this is actually what they said. They told it, a Caucasian male with facial hair between 30 and 40 years old, black clothes, white collar, facing to the right. Then when the software was finished, they printed the image using, Bob, this is so cool, they used a 3D printer to print Rembrandt's brush style.
Oh, that's so cool.
So they simulated his brushstroke style as if his hand was actually moving the paintbrush. They got it to that level. The end result is profound. Stop this recording right now. Look up the next Rembrandt in Google now.
It's beautiful.
Not if you're driving.
Right now, to do that, I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're back. You saw it. The painting looks exactly like it was painted by a Rembrandt. The painting ended up with over 148 million pixels. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, think about this. It is Rembrandt style. It looks like exactly like his work. If you look at his other work and then look at the next Rembrandt's painting, it is a Rembrandt, but it's unique. It's brand new. It's a brand new Rembrandt. Oh my God! You know how many things that this news item makes me want to talk to you guys about? I'm gonna try to 3. He's bring it out 3. No, I want to bring it down to like the couple of big philosophical things. Now, first of all, who owns that? Who owns that piece of art? Interesting idea. I don't even
the software developers.
I don't know, Bob.
The scientists.
I don't know, man. I just don't know.
I'm sure they wrote it into the...
Sure, Jake. What else?
Well, okay, so Rembrandt is long dead. Fine.
His work is public domain.
Okay, now...
Yeah, if it's public domain, it's different.
Now, let's say one of my favorite artists, Michael Whalen, he's alive, still doing his work, still kicking ass, and Michael is a painter, by the way. And let's say that this computer very easily, just like with Rembrandt, they do everything that they did, 18 months of work, and they completely steal, quote-unquote steal, borrow, copy, whatever, Michael Whalen's style, okay?
You have a much stronger argument there, Jay, I think.
Well,
This is a new ethical dilemma. I mean,
Sure.
it's something that the people who did the quote-unquote hologram of Machiavelli, right, of Tupac, and the people who, did the recreation of Paul Walker and the recreation of Philip Seymour Hoffman in new films from digital capture of their body struggled with that. And I've interviewed all of those people, and they all kind of stand behind the side that the estate of the human being owns their likeness, and these movie houses have to get their permission in order to air them.
Sure.
That's a likeness. This is just a style.
I know, but Steve, you have to...
It's more nuanced.
It is more nuanced.
It is more complicated, but I'm looking at it like this. An artist just doesn't clap their hands. I mean, the style is a part of them, and it's developed.
That's their brand. Yeah. It's really their brand.
It's their brand, if you look at it, right? So, in certain things like filmmaking techniques and things like that, it's a little bit more, it's more difficult.
But that's a very, very fuzzy line, because artists are inspired by each other as well. What if an artist, a living artist, painted, a science fiction painting in the style of Michael Whalen? So that somebody looking at it might at first think, oh, that looks like a Michael Whalen painting, but it was done by a separate artist who says, I was just inspired by him. I didn't copy him or steal anything.
They have to prove that it was far enough away, because you see that with music all the time. You see individuals who will use the same line, and they have to go to court over it and figure out, is it different enough?
It's more complicated.
It is, but Steve, being inspired by a style, another painter, that's one thing. But there are so many dimensions that this specific new Rembrandt took. It wasn't just a loose style. It was the paintbrush pressure and all those measurements.
This is
it
different.
takes it to such a degree that it's more than just a simple inspiration of one artist to another.
So what I'm saying is, sure, that someone didn't have to read a book and do the things that Michael Whalen does to come up with an incredible idea for a cover. But that's half of what makes him incredible. The other half is the fact that his eyes and hands can make the art, okay? And that part has been computerized. That part has been, software can do that now.
I have mixed feelings about that I actually like the fact that computer technology and modern technology is separating the artistic creativity from the technical skill. Because then it kind of democratizes it. You don't have to have the technical skill in order to unleash your artistic creativity. I like that, but at the same time, it then means that the technical skill loses its value. But then you could also argue, well, so what? You know, that's always a temporary technological artifact anyway. It's like, you know, like photography, the onboard computers are getting so good at, like, you know, leveling the light and everything that, yeah, you could use presets and let the camera make all the technical decisions, and you could focus on the composition of the picture. We're not at the point yet, though. I mean, there's still, like, if you're an actual professional photographer, and you'll get better results in manual just because you have much more control and options. But we're getting there. It's not going to, you know, probably be too long before the presets there'll be so many options out of it. Essentially, the technical skill of just taking a technically good photograph will all be automated, and then photographers, you know, anyone can pick up a camera, and then the only real thing they have to worry about is the artistic composition of their photo and not the technical aspect.
And the actual content. I mean, we have to remember that this faux Rembrandt is a composite of all of the other Rembrandts. If there were no Rembrandt, there would be no faux Rembrandt.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
impossible to emulate something that doesn't already exist. So right there, I mean, I think the researchers were appropriate in saying that only Rembrandt can do Rembrandt. We're just ripping Rembrandt.
Right. They made a point of that in an article. Yeah, that was really good. But don't forget, you don't need to take such a deep dive on one person. Why not take your top 10 favorite artists of all time and tweak the software to replicate those aspects that you really love? Then you would have something.
Wouldn't it be weird? It might be amazing, or it might be hideous.
Well, I mean, yeah, you would certainly need to do. Certainly need to do some tweaking, of course. But I think you could make an artist software that is not really derivative too much, and it would be a much more unique creation. Maybe something that no one's ever seen.
Or it's 10 times more derivative.
Well, not if you take the brushstroke of one guy and the paint selection of another guy. If you kind of take all these bits and pieces that you like, then you could say it's more of an inspiration, you know, of many different painters. You can't say, oh, you're ripping off this one guy. No, you're not, because so many artists that it's not really a rip-off. It's something that you put together yourself.
Well, and the funny thing is that any art historians who are listening to us arguing about this right now are probably kind of laughing because, of course, they know that the idea of emulating